Hi, this is Dr. A with another video in my series on APA formatting. And we're just going to quickly look at paper sections. The title, page, abstract, and references are mostly what I'm going to address in this video. Okay, so there are really four sections of an APA paper: the title, the abstract, the body, and the references. I highly recommend that you separate each section of your paper using the page break function in Word, and not using enter or spaces, because this will help you formats be neater throughout your paper. Because if you do a page break, then if you modify your title page, it doesn't shift everything that follows. And so page breaks are the way to go to change from one section to another. So for the title page, there are two different formats that are possible for the title page in APA 7. For professional papers, the format is intended, for scholarly publications. So this would be maybe post-grad work or professional work. For student papers, which is going to be the focus of this video, these would be for like assignments in a high school, community college, or college course, a university course, something like that. As a reminder, you should have a header, so that was addressed in the first video, and your page numbers or the header, the title, will appear at the top of the title page also. Now, in your professional paper, the header is slightly different than in your student paper. So in a professional paper, you need the short version of your title that would be to the left, and then the page numbers that's going to be to the right. And then for student papers, you only need the page numbers flush right. So what's the difference between the formats of the title page for a student paper versus a professional paper? So they both need for you to list the title of the paper first, followed by the author's name, which it would be your name, or authors, several if you are doing a group project. So your peers, you can list them. And then I typically, unless there's a clear leader, I tend to list them in alphabetical order by last name. So whoever's last name starts with A or B or C first, right? And list them with comma in between. And after that, your institution affiliations. So if you're at a high school, college, or university, that would be the name of your university institution. It might be a business. Could also be a university, right? Then for student, what follows in would be the course number and name, the instructor's name, and the assignment due date. For a professional paper, there's an author's note, and if you're interested in that, you'll just have to go dig into the APA website and manual. I'm not going to address the detail of the author's note on a professional paper. You do not put an author's note on a student paper. So you want to type your title in upper and lowercase letters using title capitalization, and so that's any word that's 4 letters or more is going to be capitalized. And your title needs to be centered in the upper half of the page. And I'm going to move this for a second. I want you to use the center function in Word to do that, because if you use the space bar, it's never going to be right. And the title, so centered in, written in boldface. So the title is always bold. APA recommends that your title be focused and succinct. So short, don't make it super long. It should not contain any abbreviations or words that serve no purpose. It can take up to 1 and up to 2 lines, but not more than that. And all text on the title page and throughout your paper is going to be double spaced. So don't mess with the spacing, just everything's double spaced throughout the paper. Beneath the title, you type the author's name. So it goes first name, then its middle initial, and then its last name. Do not use titles or degrees. You don't put your credentials, Mrs., Mr., Dr., whatever, none of that. Just first name, last name. If you don't have a middle initial, that's fine. You can just leave that off. And then again, if you have several authors, you just list them in first name, last name, of course, but use the alphabetical order of the last name to list them. Beneath the author's name, type the institutional affiliation, so that should indicate the location where you did the research, did the work, so it's going to be your school if you're a student, or your company if you're a professional, or even your institution like a university if you are a professor or just doing research for a university. So next, this is an example of the student title papers. So you see the page numbers up there on the right. So you have the title of your student paper. It can be 2 lines but no more. And I'll probably even want to use the number 2. I would probably spell it out, you know. So again, you see it's bold right here, and it's in title capitalization right there. And I have it, you know, here in bigger version if you need to see it. Move this up a little bit. There we go. And then your first name, last name, right there. Then your institution. So again, university. So, you know, I don't know, New York City University or something like that. Then the class. So I would put the class code, that class it goes by, code it goes by according to your university, and then its name. And then your professor. So this could be, in this case, Dr. or Mr. or Mrs., whatever's relevant for your professor, and first name, last name of your professor. And then the date, I'll just put a date there, of the assignment. It's the date that the assignment is due. So you see everything is double spaced. It starts in the kind of the middle of the upper half of the paper. There's an extra space here. Other than that, everything is just double spaced. All right. Okay. So next, after the title page, we have the abstract. Always used in professional papers, may or may not be used in student papers. So this is one where you're just going to have to see what your professor says, what is spelled out in the assignments. There are some assignments where I make it personally optional to put an abstract in there. So if the students don't put it, they're not counted off. But if it's required, there are projects in which it's required, like a thesis or dissertation, you want the abstract in there. So you want to have it there. So you want to begin a new page, again, by using the page break to break the sections of your paper. And your abstract page then should automatically already include the page header if you set up your header correctly with your page number on the upper right. And on the first line of the abstract page, you want to center and bold the word abstract. That's it. Just abstract, no italics, no quotation marks, nothing, just abstract, and it just has to be in bold. And you want the first letter capitalized. Then beginning with the next line, and this is here, you don't indent. And so it's possible that Word wants to indent automatically, and that's okay. You just move it back to where it's flush left. And don't use boldface, use regular type font, and you write a concise summary of the key points of your research. So if you're doing a research paper, your abstract should contain at least your research topic, research questions, your participants, methods, results, data analysis, and conclusions. But if it's something else, if it's not a research paper, your abstract needs to be just a summary of the paper. So make sure you get your conclusion in there, or the gist of what your paper is about. Again, follow your prompts and instructions from your instructor on what should be in the abstract, or if you need one. Either way, if you use one, your abstract should always be one paragraph that is double spaced, and it should typically be no more than 250 words, but I'm going to say it probably should be no less than 150. Like if you if you're doing a summary and it's only like 50 words, like 2 sentences or something like that, it's probably not enough for a proper abstract. So this is what an abstract could look like. Now this one is not 150 words. This one actually would be, to me, too short. Again, 150 to 200 words is usually good. It usually takes up most of the page. You can do the keyword thing here where you indent and put keywords and put keywords that are having to do with the topic that you are writing about. So this makes your paper, once it's published, easier to find. But if it's an assignment for a course, you may not need to do that because you may not even need to do an abstract, right? Next is the body of the paper, and so the format of this section will vary depending on the instructions given by the instructor for your assignments. For research papers, it is typical to do a 5-chapter format where the first part of the paper is the introduction, then you go into the literature review, then you outline the methods, the results, and discussion. And so that's pretty typical of research, thesis, dissertation, and things like that. And then the last section is going to be your references. Now I have more about that in a video on citing and referencing, but I'm going to just recap it in here also. So your references should begin on a new page. Again, so you use page break, separate from the text of the essay. You label this page references and in bold, centered, and at the top of the page, just like here in the example. And then all text should be double-spaced, just like in the rest of your essay. And then we'll see, just pay attention here, that the first line is going to be flush left, and then all following lines are indented. And then in your next source, it looks like this again. First line is flush left, all the others here are indented. And so this is where in the video on references and citations, I feel like using the Word Reference Manager is really helpful because it puts everything in the proper format for you. So all lines after the first line of each entry in your reference should be indented 1/2 inch from the left margin. This is called a hanging indentation, and it's part of the APA 7 formats. All your author's names should be inverted, so the last name goes first, followed by the initials for the first and middle names. And you list them in the same order that it is listed in the article or in your source. Give the last names and first middle initials for all the authors of a particular work up to and including 20 authors. So this is new for APA 7, where it used to stop at 6. The reference list entries should be alphabetized by the last name of the first author of each work. And this is, again, where using the Word Reference Manager makes this easier because it will automatically do that for you. If you have multiple articles by the same author or authors, and the authors are listed in the same order, then you want to list the entries in chronological order from the earliest to the most recent. All right, and so that wraps up our sections of an APA paper, and I hope this little video was helpful for you. Thank you.